Hi, I'm Leah with Young Lung Cancer Initiative, here today to talk to you about how to talk to your children about lung cancer or cancer in general. So, just a little bit of a backstory with us because our situation may be a little bit different than others. So, first of all, when I was diagnosed almost 5 years ago, my children were 14, 13, and 9 at the time. I also have a sister who's 8 years younger than me and has littles that I've watched since they were infants. And at the time, her children were just turning 6, just turning 4, and about 1. So we kind of ran the gamut of ages of how you talk about it, what you say. And then also, my husband had been diagnosed 18 months prior to my diagnosis with prostate cancer, a cancer that had already taken the life of his dad and several other uncles, his grandfather, etc. So our kids had some experience with cancer, to say the least. So when Todd was diagnosed with prostate cancer, we were pretty vague with them. Obviously, they were a little bit younger, and they knew that Papa had died of prostate cancer. So we didn't want to scare them. So we told them, which was the truth, that dad's cancer was caught very, very early and that they were going to remove his prostate and then he would be cancer free, which is in fact exactly what happened. And he's been cancer free for 6 years now. So when I was diagnosed, the kids knew I was sick. I started having symptoms in September. I was actually admitted to the hospital in November for 4 days with what they thought was antibiotic resistant pneumonia. And then I just kept getting worse and finally was admitted on December 13th for lytic lesions that were present in a scan. So about halfway through the duration of my stay, we had confirmation that I did have stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer. At the time, we didn't know about a biomarker because that takes longer to get back. But we knew I had metastasis to my spine, pelvis, and ribs. So we knew the kids were going to ask questions. Our oldest at the time, and still is, very curious. He's research driven. He wants to learn all the things, take it all in. He's a researcher by nature. So we had the kids brought into the hospital and we told the kids as honestly as we could, because we didn't have all the information, that I had been diagnosed with lung cancer, that it was stage 4, that it had already spread to other parts of my body, and that I was going to have to start treatment to take care of the lung cancer to get it out of my body, but that I would be home and hopefully within the next few weeks, I would start feeling better and, we would lead a pretty normal life. Each of them handled it differently. The oldest one immediately left the room and went and hid under a desk in the hallway, and this still gets me upset. And my dad crawled under the desk with him and just lobbed on him. And we tried to reassure him that we were being honest because that's what he kept asking, are you telling us the truth? Our middle was definitely upset. She knew what cancer was. She had dealt with cancer, but she was more quiet about it, I guess. Just not a whole lot of questions. And the youngest, being that he was 9, took it in, but didn't really, you could tell he didn't really know how to process the information right away. So a few weeks later, when I got my genetic biomarker testing back, it came back that I had an EGFR exon 19 deletion and that I qualified for Tagrisso. So at that point, we told the kids that we'd been to Vanderbilt and all that to get a second opinion. And we told the kids, mom's going to start taking this targeted therapy. It's kind of like chemo. It's going to go help the cells that are sick, the cancer cells that are sick, be healthier. And I'm not going to lose my hair. I'm going to start feeling better. I'll be able to lead a pretty typical life. But we did make sure to tell them that we would never cure this cancer at this point with science, that I would always have cancer, but we would manage it. So once I started taking the Tagrisso and the kids started seeing me feel better, our 9-year-old would say things like, I'm so proud of you, you've beat cancer. And we just kind of smiled and whatnot. Our oldest, being that he was curious, had gone home, and we found out later, researched the statistics on lung cancer, which are terrible. So he was the one that was struggling, I think, the most. Had a lot of questions, kept asking if we were being honest. And then our youngest, like I said, he handled things pretty well. As far as my sister's kids went, they knew I was sick. We called it lung cancer. Aunt Leah had something in her lungs that was making her feel bad, but she was going to take medicine so she could feel better. Again, the truth, but just on a watered down level. As we progressed, I was diagnosed in December of 2019, and then the lovely pandemic happened in March, which was wonderful in some aspects because we got uninterrupted quality family time together. But in the other sense, it was ensued a lot of panic for my husband and I, panic from the doctors, the kids worrying, what if I got COVID? Would I be able to recover from it with compromised lungs, etc.? So we had to become more honest with them about the cancer we were dealing with. And we just told them statistically, there was not enough information out there to really tell us how long mom would live or what kind of life that I would live. But based on how I was responding to treatment and that they felt at the time that Tagrisso could work like this for 2 to 3 years, and to a kid, 2 to 3 years is a long time, that we just were going to live our life as best we could, enjoy each other, travel, and, nobody's promised tomorrow kind of thing. A year into my journey, I had radiation to my primary tumor in my right lung, which I think was good for the kids because they saw us taking like true physical action on this. And when that happened, we told them the goal was to kill the cancer in my lung, that the cancer in my bones would still be able to come back to life or wake up, but that, we would try to manage it more like a chronic illness. Of course, we moved down the line a little bit longer and the kids have gotten older. And this past year, I had set a goal for myself when I was diagnosed, when I thought I had more like 2 years, maybe 5, was to see my oldest graduate from high school. Not really sure why I thought that was long enough, but in my head I did. So this past school year was really hard for me. Lots of emotions on, this is the last day of school. This is, graduation week was hard. Spring break was emotional because in my mind, it was the last of all the things. And then in there, I had to reframe things and I had to say, 5 years wasn't long enough. It's not going to be long enough. And we're going to have to live like I'm living for 10 or 15, 20 more years. So that's kind of what we did. And this summer, we had some really open and honest conversations with our big kids and even our youngest, Stockton. We did it individually. We reiterated that it was not a matter of when my cancer would come back or if my cancer would come back. It's more of a matter of when it would come back. We told them we were going to, seek other options, possibly surgery to give me a longer life expectancy. We asked them, what questions do you have about this cancer? Our daughter said, I don't have any questions. I don't want to talk about it. And then our son asked, our oldest did ask a few questions just about, research and different things. And at this point, the kids knew we had been celebrating my cancerversary every year. And the kids, we were honest with the kids that the last we had been told was 5 years, and 5 years would be in December. So we just, explained to them that we did not think that I would pass away before December and that there were new drugs. And, I would send them the articles when there were new things coming down the pipeline. And when I led the webinar with Dr. Antonoff and Dr. Gay about surgery in stage 4 patients, we made sure to talk to the kids about that, the options that we had. And then when we went to see Dr. Antonoff and I was approved for surgery, that was big. It was huge. It was life-changing. In fact, we called our oldest, FaceTimed him, and he was away at school. And we told him, we said, Mom just found out that she qualified to have this surgery and that Dr. Antonoff feels this is one step in the direction of making this a chronic illness, not a death sentence. And he, at 19 years old, he is, 6'3", 200 pounds, big guy, beard, broke down in tears and said, this is the best news I've ever heard in my entire life. Our daughter did not get emotional, but she was so happy. She's like, this is the best thing. And our youngest, he had a lot of questions about surgery. How long would I be gone? What would recovery be like? What kind of surgery was it? And that was all their kind of initial reactions. As for my nieces and nephew, all along we talked about these are lung cancer awareness shirts. They have lung cancer awareness shirts. We've walked in lung cancer walks. We talk about Aunt Leah has lung cancer. As they've gotten older, they've learned more themselves about cancer and kind of what can happen to someone with cancer. And I've just tried to reassure them that I'm healthy, I'm doing good, I can spend time with you guys. And, I do think that my diagnosis has changed the relationship that I've had with my nieces and nephew, as in, like, I was kind of afraid I may never have grandchildren. So I kind of approached it as like, these are going to be my faux grandchildren, and I'm going to treat it like that. So I'm very close to them. We have a very special relationship, and I don't regret 1 minute of that. So now, as we approach surgery in just a couple weeks, all three kids of mine wanted to make sure to be able to come to Houston to see us. So we are flying Tristan from school. He's old enough to drive to the airport and get himself where he needs to be. And then my dad is actually going to bring the other two out, my daughter and my 14-year-old, out to Houston to see us. And my mom's going to be with us the entire time. So it's something that it's a personal decision on how you tell your children and what you tell your children. We've just felt like it's better to be honest as we go. We made it a priority to wait until we got results back from radiology, when I would have my every 3-month scans, before we told the kids anything, because we didn't want to say, oh yeah, the scans look great, because that's what maybe the radiation oncologist said or the oncologist said. And then when the report comes back, there was something there that was unexpected. So we always made sure to wait several hours. Even if we had the results at 10 o'clock in the morning, we waited till our way home at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon to let them know. I'm trying to think else. We sent our kids to Camp Kesem. We started sending them when Todd was first diagnosed with cancer. And Camp Kesem is a camp for kids whose parents have or had cancer, living or deceased, and from ages 6 through 18. And it's completely free to the patient or the children of the patient. And it has to be their primary care, one of their primary caregivers. So if it's a grandparent that's raising them, that counts too. Otherwise, it has to be, a legal guardian or parent that they are living with that has been diagnosed. But nonetheless, Camp Kesem opened channels of discussion for us, for our family, about cancer. It also, the kids also heard other kids' cancer journeys. And a lot of people say, well, did that scare them? And I don't think it scared them. In fact, if you ask them now, they wouldn't say it scared them. They would tell you it empowered them. It put them in a place where other people understood exactly what they were living, and taught them to be empathetic and sensitive to what other people are going through in life. So in combination with some books I bought that they read or that we read to them, us having open dialogue and Camp Kesem, I think that's the way our family has approached it. And good resources out there are Gilda's clubs. School counselors often have just the right way to talk to kids about it. When I was diagnosed and my youngest was in elementary school, his elementary school counselor actually had a little group for the kids of parents that had cancer. So there were 5 kids ranging from kindergarten to 5th grade in that group, and they all positively talked about what they were going through. She read books to them. They had discussion. So I would say, therapy. My children have been in therapy. We did music and play therapy at first. So just any resource you can give them to help them deal with their emotions, because they're big feelings that they have around cancer, especially if it's a parent, someone that is supposed to always be there for them. So, they see you or your spouse, even maybe your parents or your siblings, sad when you're talking about cancer. So they need to know that it's okay to express their emotions. And I know sometimes it's hard for kids to come ask the person who has cancer these questions because they don't want to upset, like me. But we told them right away, you can ask anything you want. Nothing's off limits. Mom might be sad, dad might be sad, but that doesn't mean we don't want you to ask. It just means we hate that you're dealing with these types of questions. So I hope that answers some of the questions on how to talk to kids about cancer, lung cancer specifically. And if you have any questions, you can let us know, and I'll try to answer them more specifically. So I hope you have a great day. I know here in Kentucky, it's a fall day. It's beautiful outside. It's sunny, but it's cold. It's only 56. And some of you are saying that's not cold. But in October in Kentucky, it's cold. So I hope you are happy and healthy and living your life as best you can right now, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.